to the Wisp Mama Bear Podcast, episode 19. I'm your host, Sarah Yacoub. Today's topic, local extremists. One of the challenges of extremists like Donald Trump is there is no good way to cover them. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away. Stooping to their level doesn't feel right. And just reporting on their words adds an implicit layer of validation and normalizes that which is corrosive, dangerous, and has no place in civilized society. Because that which gave us Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving, we have a local example in which we can dive to better exemplify the conundrum. They call themselves the Activated Patriots. On days in which my better angels are away napping, I refer to them as the Triggered Patriots. I would really like to publicly call them the Activated Lunatics, or maybe even the Triggered Lunatics, but that is insensitive to mental health and doesn't help remove the stigma that we need to remove to move forward as a community on mental health care. On a side note, in all seriousness, removing the stigma of mental health care is a cause near and dear to my heart, something I support and encourage others to support as well. Seeking medical care for mental health should be no scarier or less cool than going in for a broken arm. Our body is like a car engine. Something isn't working, go in and figure out the problem. Back to our local extremists. Simply repeating their words and extremist acts doesn't work, as what reads extreme to one echo chamber may actually resonate with another. One person hears something, shakes their head and laughs, where another hears it and is inspired to join the cause. I kept hearing in 2016 that yes, Donald Trump attracted a particular subset of the community, but don't worry, he'll never get more than 30%. The population primed for conspiracy theories and cult leaders isn't more than 30%. Well, it's 2020, and while Donald Trump lost his bid for re-election, one would never know it listening to his base. Did you know the state of Texas is actually suing the state of Wisconsin because they don't like our election results? I mean, seriously, good grief. So yeah, don't underestimate the organization and ability of the most antisocial among us to act. Okay, option 1. Stoop to their level, call them out? No. Option 2. Simply report on their actions? No. Option 3. Ignore them. That'll work, right? I mean, isn't that what we as parents tell our kids? Ignore the bully and they'll go away? As someone who received that advice as a kid, I'd really like to know, is that advice that has been tested and proven, or are we just giving kids parental wishful thinking? Close your eyes, kid, and the world will stop being crappy. Not so much. So, what happens when you ignore local extremist groups? They grow. Are we just a community of extremists? Yes. I mean, no. What we see happen is a little bit of identity politics with a little sprinkle, little dash of social convenience. What we see is those who are not necessarily extremists themselves, but who vote the same as the extremists. Those who, if you asked them privately, would denounce the countless examples of crude, cruel extremism, but those who quietly sign on to follow or do not denounce these extremist groups. Hudson, Wisconsin is the home of the citizens of the St. Croix Valley, otherwise known as our local hate group, as was once recognized by the Southern Poverty Law Center. For too long, the quote, polite Republicans serving as Hudson mayor failed to denounce them, giving them cover and empowerment. One local member of the group, despite not living in Hudson, despite having no kids in Hudson schools, literally buried the Hudson School District in open records request so she could police our curriculum. I wonder how much her witch hunt cost us taxpayers. A podcast topic for another day. Ignoring extremists does something else. It provides cover, plausible deniability to the quote, polite Republicans, who can then conveniently hide behind having no idea that anything bad is actually going on. Oh, I'm not on Facebook. I'm not following their page. I had no idea they were doing these awful things. So what do? Recognize that there is no, quote, good solution. It's among the reason extremist organizations are so corrosive to a community. So long as there is no, quote, good way to respond, there is always going to be something to critique in the response. It's a lose-lose proposition, as it is designed to be. So, we do the best we can with what we have. For me personally, I lean heavily on my faith for my sanity and sincere belief that God sees and has a hand in all of it. I try to keep a clean heart. On December 8th, 2020, the Hudson City Council had a special meeting to discuss and vote upon a proposed emergency order. While crime has been steadily rising over the past few weeks, the weekend prior was a tipping point. In one weekend, Hudson experienced a carjacking, armed robbery, aggravated assault, 3 stabbings, one of which tragically ended with a murder, 2 car accidents resulting in 3 traffic fatalities, and a whole host of other public nuisances. Prior to last weekend, St. Croix County lost 6 people to traffic fatalities from January 1st, 2020 through the first weekend of December. At the meeting, Hudson Police Chief Jeff Willems spoke in favor of the 10 p.m. curfew as it ultimately passed. Hudson Mayor Rich O'Connor made it very clear that this was his initiative and his proposed order. He also made it clear that he wanted the curfew to extend all week. City Council member Randy Morissette voted in favor of the 10 p.m. curfew for Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays for all restaurants, bars, and other establishments with on-site liquor consumption. The order takes effect on December 11th and includes December 23rd, 24th, and 31st, New Year's. Private events may seek an exception, which will be granted administratively. The emergency order expires on January 3rd. Prior to the meeting, our local extremist group cried foul, claiming tyranny, government overreach, the end of freedom as we know it. They mocked the efforts supported by law enforcement and both Republican and Democratic members of the City Council, openly waving their intent to be defiant anarchists. No one tells them what to do. So much for law and order, or backing the badge. The City Council passed the emergency order unanimously. How did our local extremists respond? Partially predictably, partially not. What was predictable? True to form, they isolate and bully their targets, those whom they identify as liberal. For women, that means taking unflattering Zoom pictures of them and being unkind. They insulate and enable the Republicans as though it wasn't their proposed order, as though they didn't speak in favor of it, as though they didn't actually vote for it. Again, they did. The emergency order passed unanimously. Someone reading their site who didn't know better would have no idea that Hudson's emergency order curfew was not only bipartisan, but done with the support of local law enforcement. What part did I not expect? Apparently, passing a very narrowly tailored temporary curfew for 4 weeks is, wait for it, communism. Who knew? Of course, they don't call the Republican politicians or law enforcement whom they insulate communists. They've saved those words for the people they bully. But words matter. At about 7:45 on Tuesday, December 8th, following the meeting, the local extremist group posted the following to their Facebook page. Quote, "Tonight, the finest covert communist agents that have infiltrated our city of Hudson delighted in their newest power grab. City of Hudson will welcome in their new 10 p.m. curfew for all businesses that serve alcohol within city limits on December 11th. Close quote. They go on to complain about and quote their targets as if the emergency order was their doing and their doing alone. Going by what is written, one of 2 things is true. Either the activated patriots are in fact calling Mayor Rich O'Connor, Hudson Police Chief Jeff Willems, and City Council member Randy Morissette communists, or they are saying that these 3 are stupid and were fooled by the communists. Neither one is accurate, and both are offensive. What a sad day that public servants cannot do their job and show strength and leadership without people who call themselves, quote, patriots, trying to tear them down in the process. Here's the irony about those who call themselves patriots. I mean, there are no shortage of ironies, but here's the one that comes to mind. Our forefathers worked hard to give us a system of government by and for the people. How is it that anyone can claim to love our country, or even our Constitution, with such disdain for our system of government as developed, fought for, and preserved for over 200 years? It's as if these folks think they live on the private me, myself, and I do whatever I want island, rather than in the United States of America, as Americans. E pluribus unum, the motto of our country. Out of many, one. Episode 20 tomorrow. See you there.